I was promised by a 4-year-old that I was going to a cow battle. I've never been to a cow battle. I've never seen cows fight each other. I didn't know what a cow battle was. It turns out you shouldn't take the advice of 4-year-olds because they don't know what they're talking about.
We always have an odd one in the crowd.
So it's kind of odd.
Decidedly odd.
Doesn't that strike you as a little bit odd?
No, it doesn't strike me as a little bit odd.
It's the Bob and Sheri Oddcast, with stuff we wouldn't, couldn't, or shouldn't do on the regular show. Now, here's the Oddcast.
So last Sunday, my husband comes to me. He goes, "Hey, you want to meet Andrew?" That's our oldest son. "You want to meet Andrew and the girls at the Ag Center after church on Sunday?" And I was like, "Do I ever? What's happening there?" And so I asked Ada, who's 4, and she said, "We're going to a cow battle." Now, I grew up in the country and been to a lot of rodeos, a lot of livestock shows. I have never seen 2 cows battle. This is not the same thing as bullfighting. A bullfighting is bull versus matador. According to Ada, these 2 cows were going to basically be boxing. And I thought to myself, I've never heard of such a thing, right? But what do I know? I hardly leave the house. Maybe cow battling is a thing now. So I'm excited. I'm like, man, I need to dress for a cow battle because it's probably going to get dirty. So I dress up to go to the cow battle, and we head on out to meet Andrew and the girls after church. And there's no cow battle. There are no cows at all. And Ada was very disappointed. And damn, I was disappointed. And now you're disappointed too, aren't you? Because you were really hoping to hear, some graphic description of 2 cows going cow mono, a cow mono. But instead, what I found...
A muno.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Lamar. I'm not gonna lie, I was super disappointed. Cows are the most dangerous animal on earth. They're more dangerous than sharks. And if you're going, no, well, here's why. Here's why, son. Sit down and listen. Because in order to get eaten or attacked by a shark, you have to put your body into the ocean. And there are a ton of people that don't live anywhere near an ocean. But cows are on land. And you can be minding your own damn business and a cow comes for you. They can be very, very dangerous and aggressive. They're big animals and you don't want to mess with them, right? So that's why I thought, well, maybe this battling cow situation is a thing now that people are doing. But no. And so instead of a cow battle, I got out to the Ag Center, and the last thing in the world that I expected to happen happened. I ended up walking around with a big old lump in my throat, feeling like I was on the verge of tears for an America that's disappearing. And so here's what I mean by that. They had, at the Ag Center, they didn't have any animals at all on this particular day. They had bouncy houses for the kids, and there was no charge. Like, they just set up these giant, 3 different sized kids. They set up these giant bouncy slides and houses, and the kids could go on them as much as they wanted without paying, which, can I tell you, shocked me. And how sad is that? Does it shock you a little bit, Lamar, that you didn't have to pay for any of that?
No, that does shock me, because always have to pay.
You always have to pay, right? So when Ada's like, "Can I go on the bounce house?" I'm thinking, sure. I actually have cash for once, and I'm thinking this looks like a cash operation. There was no charge to go on any of the bouncy things for the kids. And so after they wore themselves out doing that, then we went to the next thing, which was a tractor show. And some of these tractors, they all had like signs on them. Now, I must tell you, some of them were, Lamar, the oldest one that I saw was from 1931. 1931.
That's cool.
There were dozens of them. Yeah. And I don't know anything about tractors. Like, I know the green ones with yellow trim or John Deere, and then that's all I know about tractors. But they had some from, the oldest one that I saw was 1931. They had them from the 40s and the 50s. And some of these tractors that were almost 100 years old were so like beautiful. Like, they were, they'd been used. Clearly, these are farmers, but they had such beautiful, sleek lines. And then, to my delight, well, let's pause and I'll come back. So, bouncy house, tractor show. I looked at every single tractor in the tractor show because I was with men folks that wanted to look at the tractors in the tractor show. And then we went on inside, and they had like a little kind of flea markety thing set up where you could buy jams and local honey and that sort of thing, and fresh squeezed lemonade, and that was very charming. And then we went outside and got all the kids a hot dog and a drink. And I was waiting for the kids to finish eating, and there was this giant American flag mounted on a pole attached to the front end of one of these old tractors, and it was just flapping in the wind, and you could hear like kids laughing and people talking, and there weren't very many people there. I don't think there were 150 people at the whole place. I mean, it just was not crowded at all. And there was a little tent set up for the forest department, and you could go and look at pictures of trees and get a free button or whatever. It was just very charming. And that American flag is flapping in the wind, and old men are looking at tractors, and little kids are running around asking for ice cream. And all I could think was, people are so divided and angry. This is what we're losing. Like, this is what we're giving up. In addition to like representative democracy and the American experiment and freedom and voting and all that, this is what we're giving up. This very simple, very small town Sunday afternoon. And then I looked over, and when I tell you, it was like Christmas came early. They had a group of Civil War reenactors in uniforms with tents and a fire and a cannon. Now, if you listen to our True Weird Stuff podcast, you already know that the American Civil War weaves in and out of so many stories because America is a very young country, right? And the American Civil War, we lost 6 million lives in the American Civil War. It so dramatically changed the cultural landscape. One of the ways that it did that, and we talk about this in a couple different episodes of True Weird Stuff, so many people were grieving. There had been so much death and so much loss that it triggered the rise of spiritualism, the movement where people believed there might be some way to communicate with the dead. I mean, we did an episode of True Weird Stuff about a mother whose 17-year-old son died in the Civil War, and she just could not get past it. She put his coffin with his body in the upstairs hall of their house and sat next to it for 13 years. Remember that one, Max?
Yes, I do.
The Bloody Benders episode is, so much of westward expansion, Manifest Destiny, was really shaped and guided by what had happened to this country during the Civil War. So even though, going to school out west, we learned very little about the Civil War. As an adult, I'm really fascinated by Civil War history. I mean, I just gobble it up. And so when I see Civil War reenactors, I'm so there because I'm super curious about, well, how authentic is their stuff? And, what are they really serious? And I got to tell you, I love any kind of LARPing, any kind of live action role play. If I went somewhere and there were a group of grown men reenacting Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I would watch the entire thing. Like, I just love it. Oh, yeah. I love grown-ups who are so committed to something that they dress up and act it out. I love it. Love it. So I said to Kevin, do you see that Civil War soldier encampment? I'll be back. And so I go trotting over there, and it was a handful of men. I think the youngest might have been somewhere in his 30s. They were older. They were wearing the authentic, like heavy, hot woolen trouser suspender situation. And no sooner did I get over there than they rose, got into formation, and began marching toward the caisson, the cannon mounted on wheels. Okay. And so I was like, are they gonna fire this cannon? And the answer is, yes, they're going to fire this cannon. Well, and they've got this whole thing. implements, and they've got they go and they put the gunpowder in, and then they've got another man with a big long stick with like a Swiffer on the end of it, and he packs the gunpowder in. Ball. And then another officer comes marching up very crisply in perfect, order, and he produces the cannonball out of his bag, and they load the cannonball in, and they said prepared, fire, something like that, and then they fired the cannon. And I have video of this, the way that they all in perfect unison leaned away from the camera and covered one ear. I should have copied that, because what that's sitting in the second row of a Jonas Brothers concert didn't take from my hearing. The Civil War last Sunday finished off. I mean, thank you, Darby. I was right on top of this cannon when it went off, and the boom and the smoke, you're just not prepared. In my life, we don't do a lot of firing of the cannons here at the house. And then, the smoke sort of cleared, and these men got back into formation, and they very crisply marched back to their encampment. And it left me with like this giant lump in my throat. Like, these guys could be doing anything on a Sunday afternoon. And there are people, and I, believe me, I'm a history nut. So I understand all of the nuances and issues that go around any kind of war reenactment, and, the troublesome problem of, this war dividing the country. But looking at their faces and seeing like how reverential they were, I was like, I've got to pay a visit to this encampment. So I went and got the kids, and I said, we're going to go. You want to go see the cannon? I showed them the video of it going off, and they're, oh, so loud. So I'm like, you want to go see the cannon and want to go see the soldiers? They absolutely want to go see the soldiers. So we marched back up, and one of the men, the older gentleman, came over, and he knelt down in the grass with the kids and welcomed them to camp. And then he fished this bag out of his pocket of his like ancient woolen pants, and he took out 3 golden buttons. And he said, I want each of you to have this button. Do you know what kind of bird that is? And Ella, who's 2, said eagle, and it was an eagle on it. And he said, these buttons were on the coats of Union officers. And now you have a little piece of history. So each of the kids got their button, and then they went in the tents. And in the officer's tent, they had like a little bed and and a little carton of freshly laid eggs. Like, you could still see the bits of feather and guano on the eggs, and a few other little props. And I'm like, you guys, like, this is how the soldiers lived. They were cold and wet, and when they got sick, there wasn't any really good medicine, and they missed their moms and their sisters and wives and daddies and everybody. And they slept after marching in the mud and the rain and being hungry and cold. They slept on those little teeny tiny beds. And Ada said, but where's the chicken that laid the eggs? And I didn't want to say in the stew pot. So I said, that chicken is taking a walk right now in the woods, right? And the soldiers are watching the kids, like, looking at all their stuff in the tent. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're going to get court-martialed. We've got to get out of here now. And the kids marched away, and the reenactors all waved and smiled. And I thought, how much longer before this is a thing that people talk about, but that doesn't happen anymore? How much longer when this generation of people become too old to do this and die? Who picks this up? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a little slice of Americana. And for as, Renfest as it might seem, it is keeping some of our history alive and in 3D. Like, it was really powerful to watch the kids, like, looking at the fire, looking at the soldiers, going inside their little tents. Like, that kind of brings an experience like that, brings the static, dull, dry words of the history book to life for kids. And it was really cool. And these guys, there was no, like, they had no agenda. There was none of this, yeehaw, South's going to do it again. There's none of that. They were incredibly focused on the authenticity of the setting. And then they were sitting in the officer's tent all together, and you could tell that they're all friends and that they really enjoy doing this, and all at their own expense and on their free time. And I just walked away from there just feeling sad.
Yeah.
And not just because there wasn't a cow battle. Yeah.
You can look forward and see the end. It's true.
So it was such a lovely afternoon, and nothing, like, I can't believe how shocked I was at how nothing cost money except for, a hot dog and a lemonade. Nothing costs. I'm so used to everything now being,
Oh yeah,
you got to hit the hip. And I'm not saying, like, I understand people need to get paid. Okay. I get it. Unless they're the Bob and Sheri show, we're a free public utility. We work for nothing, but you know what I'm saying? Like, people need to get paid. They need to get paid for their work, and I'm here to pay you for your work. But I'm not used to being able to do anything that you're not getting paid for. And this was the other thing. Nobody yelled. I had 2 4-year-olds and a 2-year-old. Nobody yelled at these kids, don't touch that. They were allowed to, if they wanted to reach out and touch the tractor, they were allowed to do that.
yeah.
The Civil War guys allowed them to go in and out of their tents and touch their clothes and do whatever. Like, nobody yelled at the kids. Nobody demanded, well, that's going to be, $5 to jump on that bouncy mat. Like, there was none of that. And it was so wonderful. It was just such a wonderful handful of old time America.
Yeah. It's like taking a step back. It really is. I had a good friend of mine. He's a sheriff's deputy, and he did the reenactment stuff. And I mean, he had everything down to the T. And when he went to do these battles and stuff, he didn't just show up. I mean, they knew. They've studied it. I mean, they're very, I won't say 90% of those people are big history buffs. I mean, really, they know what they're doing. The authenticity is as high as it can get. I mean, they really, they go for it. They really do. Cow pens, I don't know if you know this, but right outside of Spartanburg, cow pens at the battle, they have a whole big deal. I mean, they march
that was revolutionary.
The American Revolution.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that kind of
that. Yeah, that's a big deal.
I'm a good time, for the boys, because for a girl, I'm into a lot of like stuff that, like, I have friends who are like, oh my God, if we have to stop at one more historical monument. I'm over here in the passenger seat going, all right, Kev, in 3 miles, take exit 16. We're going to see a historical monument, because I love that stuff. And the Civil War, I used to allow myself to get sucked into like random, stupid arguments with people who wanted to fight with me about the Civil War. And I'm like, we legislated that. Like, we had that battle. Can we not? There's so many ways that the American Civil War shaped American history on north, south, on all sides. Our economy, our culture, the migration of our population, our religion, so much of that was really profoundly influenced by the Civil War. And one of the things I was
growing pains for the country, wouldn't you say? Growing pains? I mean,
more than that. Oh my God!
Lessons learned.
The seeds of which were planted when we first got together to decide that we were going to separate out of England, because that was an issue then. I mean, the issues that came up in the Civil War, it was almost like it was inevitable with the Civil War
that we would get here. And, we're feeling the echoes of some of the compromises that were made then in today's political moment. I don't want to go there too far because I just don't want to. But we are in a lot of ways, we're still in it. We're just still in that moment.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, I'm standing there on the edge of this field, like nobody's there. And I'm watching long after I saw them do the cannon and I took the kids through. The kids had gone back to bounce some more. And I stood on the edge of the field and I was watching and I thought, I spend too much time on social media and I see so many like really unhinged tweets and posts, people saying this country needs bloodshed. This country needs to purify itself in blood. And I think you just don't even know. You don't even know what you're saying. Like you can't appreciate the gravity of declaring something like that. Like this country, we barely survived. And entire bloodlines and families were completely and irrevocably shortened and stunted and altered. And that's just the personal stuff. So, I was watching and thinking, we all do need to get outside more and get off. And I'm the guiltiest person. I'm so screen addicted. I'm so screen addled. We do need to get off and get in the car and drive someplace and park and get out and eat a hot dog and watch these grandpas and dads lovingly erect these tents and polish these muskets and whatnot, and these tractors that have clearly been working the land for generations, and and somebody going to all that trouble to make strawberry jam to take it to sell. Like that just made me cry, man. It was like an elegy for a vision of America that is disappearing. It's really disappearing. And then when you add on top of that I had been promised battling cows, there were no cows and no battles. I was feeling the melancholy on the way home for sure. And Andrew, our oldest, said to me, because I said, I'm really bummed, man. I thought I was going to see a cow fight. He goes, we can go to the rodeo if you want. I was like, yeah, I haven't been to a rodeo in a long time. We need to go to the rodeo. I know there won't be a cow battle, but there'll be some cattle roping, right? There'll be some tricks with the cows. It was just a really cool afternoon. And if you get a chance, if there's something like that in your town and you get a chance to go support it and, buy a lemonade and watch the Revolutionary War, Civil War reenactors march in formation.
And they really appreciate it for people to show up. They really enjoy that. They do.
Oh, they were so delighted to have. That's why I said they were so kind to the kids.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, gentlemen, the heart and soul you put into that. And I just want to say, if anyone out there is hosting a cow battle, Lamar and I will come and do ringside commentary.
Yes, we will.
Live on Facebook.
I would love to see that.
Max you heard it right there. Max will also come to your cow battle, and poor Doc does not have a choice. We will be.
Yeah.
Doc's over there going, Max, edit this out. Do not send me to a cow fight.
The last show he worked for made him wear a dress. In this show, we're going to make you go to a cow battle.
Cow battle. That's right. So do drop us a line at bobandsheri.com so that we can come to your cow battle and share it with the world. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Oddcast. Thank you to all the people out at the Ag Center that put on such a lovely, heartwarming, good old-fashioned American Sunday afternoon. BOBANDSHERI.com. We'll see you on the next Oddcast.